Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Daily Objective. And today is no ordinary day. We have a special celebration of our 300th episode. Congratulations, everybody. And this obviously, as you would expect, brings up the movie 300 to mind. You know, this was a time when the Greeks were basically destined to lose. And what they did was, well, they lost.
They lose.
Thank you for jumping in on that and stepping on the punchline, Nikos Sotirakopoulos. Some things never change. Please welcome Nikos Sotirakopoulos as well as Jonathan Hoenig. We're going to be talking about the show. We're going to be talking about you, the audience, and some of the things we're hoping to see in the future. And obviously, we'll be talking about the movie 300. How you guys feeling?
First of all, let me say I enjoyed yesterday's episode. I think it was very, very difficult. It was the episode about this gymnast who dropped out of the Olympics. I think you and Gina did very well, and I was creeped out when I saw the Kirk video. I mean, my tolerance on what creeps me out is very high, but this managed to get over the bar. So, yeah, good job.
Well, thanks. But I mean, you know, people were like acting like me and Charlie Kirk were on the exact same page. I was basically using what he was saying as kind of a launch pad. Like, well, let's talk about selfishness versus this. But I understand if it came off like I entirely agree with Charlie Kirk, and obviously that triggered some of the snowflakes, as they say. Is that the impression you got, that I was there to bash on the poor gymnast girl?
No, I think there was a good balance because there's definitely something in the culture. So I would start by saying, look, there's something in the culture. I get why someone would say, oh, that's another instance.
Hey, bros, can I just interrupt this here? That was yesterday's show.
Okay.
Now we're on today's show.
Okay. I just had to tell because I think it was difficult, and I appreciate when someone makes a difficult episode happen. So, okay, that was about it.
All right. Anyway, Jonathan, how you feeling? 300 episodes. Like, you've been here for 250 of them or something.
About half of them, and you know, for one thing, I'm surprised. That's how you pronounce Nikos's name. I mean, it's taken me 250 episodes just finally to. So I've learned something, but actually, yes. I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot over these last 250 episodes. You know, from you guys, from some of the experts that we have on the channel. I mean, everyone from, you know, Don Watkins, James Valiant, Harry Binswanger. So, I mean, for me, part of why I do this is to be part of this community, part of this. And of course, our super chatters. I mean, I've never met Daniel or Regina or Scott or Fab or even Mary Aline. I've never met these people, but I feel like I'm in part of a really engaging, interesting, and ultimately fun philosophical conversation. You know, I was never interested in sports, even like entertainment really doesn't interest me, you know, Kylie Minaj or whatever the fuck these people are. I don't care. Whatever, Nikki, but these types of ideas, these types of discussions have always energized me. So it's fun every day to check in with some of our crew now on the Clubhouse as well. And as Rand would say, choose some of these topics, choose some of these ideas. So, and you guys make it fun, you facilitate it. And of course, our super chatters shekels, or I guess that's pounds in the UK, they make it happen. They make it possible. So thank you. That was a great time to celebrate 300. Like, give us $3, £3, £30, and tell us to keep the lights on for the next 300. And thank you guys both for making it so interesting and engaging for me every day.
Yeah, and today let's engage the audience a bit more. So ask us whatever you want, suggest whatever you want. What are the kind of episodes you enjoy more? What is the type of stuff maybe that we haven't thought that you want to see more? So yeah, and we can tell you what happens behind the scenes, how we prepare, how we set this up, and all that stuff.
Yeah. So, Nikos, we've had some interesting disagreements at times. What have we disagreed about? I guess during the Trump days, maybe I was like, I had like this coming to Jesus moment where I said, all right, Trump is as bad as they say. And I think I'm in alignment with some of our favorite philosophers. So that's kind of my appeal to authority. Like, the more I realize how much I despise what Trump has done to the Republican Party, the more I'm remembering like, oh yeah, like I'm looking up Yaron Brook from 5 years ago, and he was pointing this out. I'm looking up Jonathan Hoenig endorsing Hillary on TV, however many years ago, and I'm like, I guess they were even smarter than I realized, in my opinion. Now, Nikos, what I like about you is that you're always very honest about where you're at. You never claim to know more than you do, and you never pretend to believe something that you don't. And that is all anyone can ask of you. So anyway, we've had some disagreements, and we are not a cult, so we can disagree and still, right?
Yeah, no, that was a difficult period, to be honest, around the elections and around the 6th of January. I was a bit disappointed with many people and their evaluation of the events. But again, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter that much how you evaluate one thing, and it doesn't really matter who you think is worse. I still think that the biggest threat will come from the left. And this might be because it might sound snobbish. I think I know the left better. I think I understand the left better because I've been one of these guys, and I've been one of these guys who took things seriously. So I understand, and I understand also nihilism a bit more. So again, for me, the most scary moment when I look back to myself was the riots in Athens of 2008. And what was my attitude? And my attitude was not, let's create something. My attitude was, okay, now it's time for this Dionysian outburst. Now it's this time for whatever I don't like needs to be crushed. So in a way, it reminded me a lot of last summer things.
But I got to just say, Nikos, 1 second. A lot of people don't know, 10, 12 years ago, you were, as you said, not just a leftist. And by the way, thank you, Regina, for your contribution. Please, guys, take the opportunity now to send us a couple bucks on Super Chat, or head over to the Ayn Rand Center store and pick up one of these quality garments. As Nikos, as you said, not endorsed, but not, what did you say? Not sanctioned, but not
refused. Not endorsed, but tolerated.
Tolerated. To me, you're almost like the UK equivalent of the Biggest Loser. Not that you're a loser, but those are those people, they come in fat and they lose all that weight. You started off a super leftist. So in a weird way, the power of Ayn Rand's ideas are very manifest in you because they changed your life. They really turned your life around.
So, okay. So the question then is, what is the value to try to find every day something and discuss it under the objectivist principle? For me, what I found fun, maybe not useful, but fun and useful, is trying to find parallels from the books. So particularly what we're discussing the other day with the cigarettes. So they say there's always an Ayn Rand line for everything. So that's what so one of the two things that I find most interesting on the Daily Objective is trying to think, okay, how can we link this randomly story, which is someone that sees in the news say, oh, that's political correctness gone mad. And how can we provide an insight, which is not just this is political correctness gone mad, but it goes a bit more to the principle. And that's not always the case. So it's very easy to get absorbed and become one more voice where you throw red meat, as Rucka says, to the audience against the left or whatever. So that's for me the biggest value. So it was like this exercise that Peikoff was doing in the radio, where he was throwing people random pieces of news and was like, can you find either what is putting these things together, or can you find the principles? Obviously, we're not doing it as good as Peikoff would be doing it, but it's a good exercise. It's like a crossword, a daily crossword for your mind. How can I see these things and rise above the noise, rise above all that is out there? And it's like, and again, Rucka is of help. When the borders closed, I was like, oh, it's Germany. And Rucka was like, no. Having said that, in retrospect, I think I'm right, because I'm gonna probably miss Ocon because of that. And I'm super pissed off, by the way. Okay, that's not relevant.
Yeah, all those poor people behind the Iron Curtain, really missing Ocon really was just
no. Here's very seriously who are the poor people behind the Iron Curtain. The billions of people in the developing world that are in red lists, students, people who want to be immigrants, people who want to see beloved ones, and you have leftist and bleeding heart liberals who otherwise would say, the excluded of the South, we need to do something for the excluded of the South. And they're the same people that nowadays are saying, lock them up, basically. They're saying, keep them there, because these people are, this is like the factory of variants. It's like a lab of variants. This is how they view the people in developing countries.
If not allowing people from so-called shithole countries to immigrate here is a mark of the Soviet Union, then Donald Trump should be at the top of your hate list. People that you despise, isn't he?
I want to just thank Scott, who agrees with you, Nikos, about the threat of the left. Thank Roland Horvath, who's encouraging us to keep it up. I don't think he's probably talking about the Trump discussion, but maybe the gestalt of it. And Andy Rudge, who we love on Clubhouse. He's always brings a lot in terms of perspectives. So thank you all for those contributions. And I'm going to just venture one thing, if I can throw this into the mix, about some of what people get out of what we're doing here at the Ayn Rand Center UK is, Nikos, as you said, some of it's the rip from the headlines, daily chewing about how, and I love how you bring Rand's text into it, not just the nonfiction, but the fiction as well. But think about part of what Razi, the Lord Emperor, and the Ayn Rand Center UK, and Rucka, you guys have all been involved with, discussions about Rand and homosexuality, discussions about so-called enemies of objectivism, other groups and other types of interpretations. So these are some pretty touchy subjects, immigration, kind of touchy subject around objectivism. And I just think it's cool. We've created an environment, as you guys have said, that people can disagree. We're all students of objectivism. We're all learning and, being, for me at least, much better off as a result.
Yeah, I mean, I find that interesting that the standard for what makes us like the Iron Curtain, like the East Germany, is not allowing people from certain countries to immigrate here. But then Donald Trump is the guy protecting us from East Germany. It just seems a little bit strange to me.
But I never said that Trump is protecting us. Actually, Trump is the one who started the travel bans.
Yeah, exactly.
My guess is Trump by now would have lifted them just to make a statement that, well, we're open, my vaccine saved the world and all that stuff. But that doesn't matter. What matters is that it's interesting throughout time to see who was right and who was wrong, and trying to reflect on previous positions and say, okay, was I tribalistic there? Or did I make a mistake of method? Or was I emotionalist, or what? So it's interesting to look back in some of these things and see how they went. But I'm curious, what is that you people get out of it? So, for example, Jonathan, you are rich, you are successful, you are very, very busy. We are all busy, but I guess you are richer than we are. So, what's the value you get out of this, and why are you doing this?
Well, part of the value I get is, for me, a big part of it, Nikos, is interacting with these people from all around the world. I mean, I sit in an office or in my home and look at screen all day long. So to connect with people on Super Chat, and thank you, Phil, 30 pounds. Phil says, I'm gonna, very generous. Thank you so much, Phil, for that. You're helping us keep the lights on. That's really, we're kind of living off that, if you will. Certainly not us, but our the guy behind the scenes. Phil says, apparently pharmacists in Scotland are refusing to sell over-the-counter opioids to ordinary people unless they give personal details. The info may be shared with other GPs and other pharmacies to counter addiction. What say you guys? I mean, we'll kind of get into that. I mean, my 2 cents is it's the nature, right, of the mixed economy, right? You have regulations about prescriptions, etc. So we'll get into that. And I guess, Nikos, to answer you, it's part of what I enjoy is interacting, learning about what's happening in Scotland, learning about what's happening in the UK, thinking about how it contrasts, and having this worldwide conversation. When Razi first said join it, I was like, I don't live in the UK. I don't know. What do I know about pasties and the Queen? Or, I don't know what that is. But the conversation is a worldwide conversation. Objectivism is not just for Americans. It's not just for so-called Anglo-Saxons, whatever. It's for any human living on Earth. So thank you, Phil. We'll talk about that. Thank you, Roland. And who thinks the left is less of a threat. And thank you guys, because you make the conversation, for me, very fun. I mean,
I like this about the global attitude. Phil, I don't know about this story, but nothing would surprise me from Scotland. Remember, this is the country that introduced the quote named person idea, which is that every family would have a state bureaucrat that makes sure that you're a good parent to your children. We talked about the 300s.
Wait. I just Roland's comment. I don't think Jonathan read it. He said, he read it, but didn't read it out loud. €5. He says, I think the left is less of a threat in terms of people mistaking objectivists for them.
Okay, yeah.
And I would add to that, or in terms of objectivists betraying objectivists for it. So you don't see, well, it depends who you ask. Some people think that the mainstream objectivists have become leftists, but I think more accurately is they've sold a lot of objectivists sold their soul for the Republican Party. And
I'm seeing this and it's a bit boring. I see people that I appreciate cutting a lot of slack to the Republicans. And here's the problem. The problem is that the Republicans haven't earned it. I can understand someone, let's say, saying, oh, in 2012, or even when Trump came around, say, let's see what happens. But in 2021, you should be very, very disappointed from the Republican Party. And again, what's yesterday's episode and what's the collectivistic rant, not Ayn Rand, rant by Charlie Kirk, who says, you shouldn't have left the Olympics. Why? Because you betrayed your nation and you're a sociopath. Or I had to rewind. I was like, did I hear this right? And because you gave up, the Russians won. I mean, I'm all for the stoicism thing, quote unquote stoicism thing, the tough it up thing. David Goggins is the most inspiring person I've ever read about in my life. But Kirk's thing was really creeped me out. Like, anyway,
let me just throw this once in, because there's a lot of discussion on the chat. We want to see more of the super chat, but would you guys at least agree that objectivism is not, and this is something it's talked about, Ms. Rand talks about in a textbook, objectivism is not on the left or right spectrum. So I just don't want us to get into that game. You know, we don't talk about just politics here, but in my mind, we are outside the spectrum. We are on the individualism spectrum, and both the quote left and right are on the collectivist spectrum. Can we at least agree on that? Now, who's better or worse? We can debate that, but can we all agree that at least objectivism is outside the left and right spectrum completely right now?
Yeah, no, that's right. But the left and right spectrum, which, by the way, there is no spectrum, there are tribes. Spectrum would mean that there's a spectrum of ideas and you fall somewhere within the ideas. The problem is that we don't have a spectrum of ideas. We have a spectrum of actually two camps. Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm saying it's not worth cutting slack to the Republicans. Again, I'm all for pointing out, for me, the left is the biggest threat. Why? Because they have more.
I'm just saying, Ms. Rand does not distinguish between capitalism and fascism, in my recollection. She basically says, you know, one is the
communism and fascism.
Communism. Thank you, Rucka. Right? She says basically, well, one is like the fascists pretend like it's seemingly, and one is outward. So that's my 2 cents. I hate politics. I used to say to Razi, don't put me on the politics. But I look at the left and I say it's communist, and the right I say it's fascist, and I hate them both.
Well, I mean, another aspect to this, one of the aspects of this is that we're hyper focusing on politics. That's not the battle. That's not the battle. Yes. But how does the actual battle, which is philosophical, how does it intersect with politics? Like, how should you look at political developments? And some people say, well, you look at what are the policies coming out of each party? And that's definitely relevant. But the sort of aha moment that I had was when Trump got up and announced, they're throwing all the votes away. They're stealing the election. And I said, this guy literally says whatever he wants to say. His audience
consciousness.
They go, and his audience, they just assume it's true. They act like it's true. They don't even care if it's true. If it turns out Trump made all of it up and it was a complete lie, his fans would say, well, at least we trolled the left. These people are insane. So like, that's when I realized like the battle is philosophical, but so we need to look at it's about individualism versus collectivism, also about reason versus arbitrarily making shit up. Pardon my language. So like, that is when I realized the battle is epistemological. And when it comes to political figures and political parties, one of the relevant things is who has more respect or semblance of respect for a proper method of attaining knowledge and a position. See what I'm saying?
Who does it as our super chatters? Sammy is here, not bored. Thank you, Sammy. You're a great part of our conversation. Kathleen Kosh, 30 pounds, wishing us Happy 300th. Thanks so much for interesting, engaging, inspiring content. We thank you so much. That's so generous. We truly, truly appreciate it. And Marialine, a huge thumbs up. Thank you so much for being part of the conversation on here. And it just means so much for us. It's an enthusiasm and the support. So we super appreciate it. What do y'all think?
So since my leftist part was brought up, a communist, a famous communist had the saying which said, the worse the thing out there, the better for us. This is not the case. But here's what is the case. The more confused the things out there, the more we have to contribute. Here's an example. The other day, one of the supposed most liberal and free market people of this government, this country, said, not getting the vaccine is selfish. Not getting the vaccine is selfish. And I had a thread on Twitter today about that. So this is where we can have this unique contribution that, look, people, it's not only that you get politics wrong, you get everything wrong. Like, sorry to sound pompous, you get everything wrong. You don't understand morality. You don't even understand what selfish is. You can't even sell your success if the vaccine is not the government's success. But so even something positive with your screwed up philosophy and your screwed up understanding of the world, you have to, you destroy even this. You manage to somehow not be able even to pass the good message about the vaccine. And you make it this altruistic jargon. Oh, it's selfish if you don't take it. Someone the other day, someone put on Twitter, what was it exactly? You don't get the vaccine for you, even if it's not good for you, it's good for the others. How can something which is not good for you be good for the others? Like, who are the others that I love? Okay, my mother, my family, my friends. If something is not good for me, if let's say the vaccine, whatever, would have a bad effect on me, how would it be good for the others? So there's so much misunderstanding out there. So we have to be vocal, and there's a good opportunity to be vocal because we have a comparative advantage. We understand why the statement not taking the vaccine is bullshit. Most people don't understand why this is bullshit. It's like we go to battle, we're only the 300. Imagine we're a battalion of Spartans, but we have the best weaponry. We have tools that others don't. So there's a battle out there with millions and millions of people. It's like monsters versus giants, whatever. Think of a mythological battlefield. And there's this disciplined, benevolent, and persuaded about its mission battalion. And we have the best tools to fight this battle. So this would be my parallel with the 300. And don't forget, we have a comparative advantage, our philosophy.
I kind of started this theme today, I think, by bringing up Trump and all of this stuff. I kind of set us down a certain path. I'm probably in a bit of a cranky mood today. Maybe that's kind of what it is. But on a positive note, I really do appreciate the fact we're able to have these conversations. We're like the intellectual dark web of 2021. What is it about us? We're able to have these difficult conversations. No, I really I get nothing but positive vibes from all four hosts on the show. You know, if I like to think I've got so many good people in my life. If everyone was like me, we would all be at each other's throats all the time because I'm such a drama queen. But all of you people being so calm and collected really makes us able to get along. And I really appreciate that. Thank you, Zalmi, for the 99 pence. Or cents, excuse me. It's American. A picture of a peach. Interesting picture for one man to send another, or to send several. But you know, I really do like the positive vibe on this show. Obviously, it's always positive. I've never gotten any feeling like we're like there's any resentment or anything like that. Over on Clubhouse, we've had people like yesterday. Jason Rhines came on there. So a kind of a vision I have for what this channel can become in addition to the Daily Objective, or along with the Daily Objective, but also beyond it, is maybe kind of like a philosophical gymnasium where very bona fide philosophers or high level intellectuals kind of do their sort of philosophical racquetball, similar to what happens on Clubhouse, maybe happens on this channel. Because like, you know, okay, because what makes me think of this, you might be wondering. So like Nikos, you tweeted recently like a screenshot of Ayn Rand talking about Kant, and someone replied to you saying Rand misunderstood Kant. that could be partially true. I mean, Rand is writing in the 60s and 70s, and scholars have continued to study Kant, and some very qualified scholars say, well, here's what Kant was actually saying. Now, was Rand wrong about Kant, and to what extent does that affect her overall message is a good question. And maybe getting really, really qualified philosophers and intellectuals on this channel to flesh that out would be a great thing. I certainly would be interested in consuming that content, whether it takes place on the channel, maybe behind the paywall for members only. Whoa, some big super chats coming in right now. Let me read them real quick. CJ with $2 Canadian. That's not really a big super chat. That's more like somebody found, it's like someone stopped on the street, saw a homeless guy basically giving his change away. Oh, $2 Canadian. Thank you. It's exactly what I didn't need. No, I'm joking, of course. Thank you, CJ, for the $2 Canadian. He says, congrats on episode 300 USD or 374 Canadian. That was funny. Get it? 300 or 374. Zalmi T with the 99 cents and another picture of a peach. Thank you. Still an interesting, strange thing for one man to send three men on a show. Marilyn.
I'm confused. Why is peach a weird thing for a man to send to another man?
Not for no reason at all. I actually think it's perfectly normal. Marilyn with $50 American. That's nice. Thank you. Sammy is bored again with 99 pence and a picture of a black cat. Thank you.
In Greece, black cat means bad luck. Not only in Greece, I think everywhere in Europe.
Mm-hmm. So the argument continues in the chat about Trump or the left or the right. What do you guys think ultimately is the purpose of even getting on the internet and talking about all this stuff? I think it's to ultimately offer individuals that watch the tools like resources, like, hey, here's a book, here's an essay, here's a novel that I read that really has helped me. Here's who I turn to study more philosophy. I think that, or like, here's a thinking exercise that's helped me. I think that's ultimately the value that is offered.
I mean, I'll jump in quickly on that one. And look, we're going to come on Clubhouse in just a few minutes, but my goal is to get people to read Ayn Rand. So many people have an opinion. Oh, Rand thinks this, Rand thinks that. They haven't read shit. They don't know anything. I'm a student of Ayn Rand, a student of Objectivism, and I've been reading this for more than 20 years. So my goal is just, and Nikos, you do this great, Rucka, you do this great, is to get people to pick up some of these books and read some Ayn Rand. She is not just the best one to convince, but she's the only one to convince. So read Ayn Rand. That's, I think, what we're trying to get you to do, to inspire you to pick up some of her, pick up the novels, pick up some essays, and read Ayn Rand. It'll change your life. It's cliched. She changed all of ours, and her work will change her as well. And we've got more programming coming up. I don't know, Nikos, if you can say it, but I'll just.
Can I say one last thing about so something that I've gained not from ARC but from knowing Razi. You mentioned read books. Many people are not comfortable with reading. So I was a big not enthusiast of audiobooks, not at all. I never tried them. So one day, Razi, we had a meeting, and he said, "Oh, I was working town up and town, listening to Fountainhead." I was like, "That doesn't sound like Razi. That's weird." Anyway, he persuades me to, and I download the Fountainhead. I wouldn't say my life changed, but it was the best way now for me to consume the fiction that I've already read, is taking long walks, particularly during the lockdown, listening to either Atlas or the Fountainhead. So, particularly if you read them once, and if you want to get the joy while doing something else beautiful, get them in Audible, particularly the Fountainhead, the guy who's narrating, although I think the narrators are not the same in Europe and the US, but at least the European version of the Fountainhead, it's second to none. And Atlas, after the first time, and when you get used to the guy's tone of voice, it's a pleasure. It's an aesthetic pleasure, and it's one of the most relaxing thing, again, walking and listening to the books.
Marilyn with 199. Thank you for that super chat. Wonderful day for super chats. Really appreciate the community, all of the people. It's been an interesting learning experience for me. I think I've gained some confidence step by step, day by day, to offer you a couple cliches today. Jennifer is angry. She says, you bring up Trump, then you proceed to chastise the chat. Jennifer, I think you're letting politics come between us. And then that's not necessary. I think we can all get along, and you'll see that I really am a nice guy. All right, coming up tonight at Christopher with 279 Canadian says, "Congrats, ARC UK." No, Christopher, congrats to you.
Well, he makes us. I mean, he's part of our conversations every day.
We didn't do it, Christopher. You did this. Tonight at 10 p.m. UK time. That sounds like a fun Friday night to me in London. Probably the only thing you're allowed to do there, frankly. Or at 5 p.m. Eastern is TV Talk, Mad Men Season 1. And Razi will be the guest.
Yeah, Razi is a good analyzer of TV series. So, yeah, by the way, another chance to mention that Razi should be more in front of the camera and not just in back. But yeah, he has some very good insights in Mad Men, and he's going to share it with Mark and the other co-hosts in that series.
Looking forward to that. My new favorite show, TV Talk, with Mark Pellegrino and the two lovely writers of The Strike. Great show. Also, don't forget, coming up in like an hour or less, or at noon American Pacific time, The Integrating Investor. There's a guy who works hard for the channel and delivers great financial content. And also, coming up on Monday, this is a special episode. It's a recap of Dr. Peikoff's talk tomorrow. So the talk is on Saturday. Leonard Peikoff, he's going to be delivering a lecture. This is historic, folks. He's coming out of retirement to talk about Viennese operetta, if I said that correctly. That's happening tomorrow, IRL, in real life. And then on Monday, I think it's also going to be live streamed by the Ayn Rand Institute tomorrow. But at least it'll probably be recorded. Anyway, I think so. Yeah,
ask. I'm not entirely convinced it's going to be live stream. And if not, how we're going to comment it. But anyway, if it weren't for the border closures, I would jump on a plane just for that.
It will be live streamed, says Razi. So if you think you're smarter than Razi, that's maybe, your prerogative to say, but I tend to agree with Razi on these things.
Okay. It's like the Last Dance, but the objectivist Last Dance of Leonard Peikoff. So it will be worth it.
Also Monday. So on Monday on the Daily Objective, a recap of that talk with guest Lisa Van Dam. She's a very knowledgeable literary thinker who we hope to see more on this channel as well.
And she put the whole thing together with Dr. Peikoff, I believe.
Okay, yeah, that sounds great. Sammy is bored again with 199 pence. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you everyone for the super chats today. I'm sorry, Jennifer, for making you upset in the chat. I think we can put politics aside and just talk about IDs. See you all again very soon. See you on Clubhouse in just a moment. Remember to join Ayn Rand Center UK as a member. Buy our merchandise, as Jonathan seems to be encouraging. And see you on Clubhouse. And goodbye.
All right. Should we go to it?